You know, I started this video idea thinking it would be kind of like a funny, fun thing to do, probably a dumb thing to do, but kind of fun. I found this here, a link online, and it's basically a gacha PC. So it was like a mystery PC, MSI mystery PC, and I was like, this is kind of dumb. Why would you buy that? But then I was like, you know, we're in the RAM apocalypse, the everything apocalypse. Everything is super expensive right now, like crazy expensive. And I look at the minimum specs. It was like minimum for this price, minimum guaranteed, this CPU, minimum guaranteed, this much RAM. And I was like, well, the RAM alone is worth it. You're guaranteeing me 32 gigabytes of RAM. Storage. So I was like, you know what, let's buy it. Let's buy it and see what it is. And, you know, at minimum, like maybe it's like, yeah, I probably could have like bought this from like a Best Buy for the same price anyway, so you're not like losing. But it ended up being pretty sweet. So it's an MSI Pro tower. It's like a consumer. Pro is like just basically a consumer tower. You know, something you'd pick up from, you know, like a Best Buy or something, or MSI itself. And yeah, it's a mystery PC. So the specs that you get are guaranteed as a minimum. You might get higher. It's pretty much exactly what I anticipated it would be. This one here came with a 13th gen, 13400 with the iGPU. It also came with 32 gigabytes of RAM. It's DDR4 in this case, but that's fine. It supports both. And it's interesting. It has all standard parts. Like it uses a standard motherboard, standard power supply, standard, meaning it's good now and you can upgrade it down the road. So I was like, it's kind of cool. I mean, no problems with it whatsoever. These things always look huge on camera because of the angle, but it's not a big tower, right? Like this is like it's not a tiny little tower. It's not a micro PC or mini PC, but it's not a big tower. Like it's a very small tower. So I have done some basic upgrades to it. Like during the process, I tested it at stock and it was totally fine at stock. But I've also just been like Frankensteining this thing like repeatedly. So this will be a spoiler for the video, but it came with a stock Intel cooler, which honestly it works. Stock Intel cooler for 13400 is fine. But this tower, like this specific tower, you can buy new from MSI or, you know, from MSI and like sellers like Best Buy and that, and you can buy them with a 14th gen, 14400. You can also get them with a 14700, so you can get a much better, much more powerful CPU, put it that way. And you can actually spec these things out with a 5070. So rather than putting in the 5070 and basically recreating the tower you can buy from MSI, so we had this one, and you know the top, I just put in an A770. It's fine, like an A770 from Intel, B580. They're going to be in the same class as like a 5060 Ti in that same kind of class. But in many cases, they're actually faster than a 5060 Ti because of the 8 gigabytes of VRAM, at least on the 8 gigabyte model. This is a 16 gigabyte VRAM GPU, or the B580, 12 gigabyte GPU, and at 1440p or 1080p with high, like ultra settings, they can easily outperform those NVIDIA GPU. My channel doesn't survive on any sponsorships. I do rely on obviously YouTube income, and also affiliate links help me a lot. So if I can find, I don't have any MSI affiliate links, but I can find any affiliate links like Amazon or something or Best Buy, I'll put them down below. And if you use them, they help. If not, whatever, it's your call. Okay, here's a look inside. You can see the power supply's out. It actually just comes like that. Little, you know, the little thing there to hold it in. That there, just took it out because I want to show you this here. So it's called high power, which is, you know, maybe some OEM, they make it for OEMs or something. But here's the interesting thing, 650 watts, that's crazy, right? These MSI Pro machines here, they're designed to not only, you know, like you have the generic family machine. This is not really that, it can be, but you can spec these out like a lot actually. You can spec these out to have up to a 5070, which is pretty impressive for something like this. And you can also spec them up to have, you know, an i7, whatever. You're going to be limited by, you know, the motherboard, that kind of stuff, you know, not being the most powerful for VRM. So you may not want to put a 14900K in here or something, right? Like that's a bad idea. But the F SKUs and the non-F SKUs works just like 14700 or 14700F. Those work fine because they're lower wattages. And the performance will be very good, honestly, very, very good. They're going to run at lower watts, give good tons of power, and then you get yourself a GPU. You can get it without like this, or you can spec it out and put a GPU in. I didn't get one with a GPU, obviously, clearly, so you can see here. But I've heard that you can sometimes get them with it from that thing, or you can buy it from MSI Direct. I'm going to put a GPU in here, just test it out, spec'd out with multiple SATA connectors. You can also put in, these are for, I can't remember what these are called, but these older style connectors here for like extra fans and things like that, right? And then you do have PCI right here. Now it is only a single cable, but it is dual daisy chained into two. So theoretically, with this and the board itself supplying some power, because the PCI slot can supply 75 watts overall, you could get a 225 watt GPU in here. Clearly you can, because you can buy this for the 5070, which is that much power. Now you can buy things like these. These are those low profile GPUs, right? Like this is a 4060, I guess. I have a 5060 over there off camera for a different video. This is all part of the same thing. This is a 4060. It has power, right? So you just plug that in. This goes in here. This comes with a larger bracket. Right now I have it spec'd out for a lower profile machine, but it comes with a full height bracket. And you can slap something like that in there, no problem. Connect that in and boom. Of course, like I said, you can buy it from MSI with this. So for the purpose of this video, we'll do a couple different things. I might actually put in this Intel one. So you do have that slot, like I said, metal to help, I guess, prevent bending. Second PCI slot here, so you can put in a little expansion card. Very good. Wi-Fi here. It doesn't have external cabling, but it does have the wires running through. We'll see how that signal goes there. Of course, it is swappable. NVMe right there. This one does come with a Western Digital SN3000. It's totally fine, no problems with that. No second NVMe on the motherboard, but there is 2 SATA ports here. So easy to upgrade storage. You just leave that. You can put in a hard drive into the hard drive slot here, or the hard drive slot there, or an SSD, 2.5 inch right there, and a hard drive there. Very good. So you can get a ton of storage in this thing. This is a DVD, right? You can take that out. Otherwise, easy. You don't have to, because everything is actually easy to access underneath this. So there really is no reason to take this out unless, I don't know, you don't want it for some reason. I don't know. There is no legitimate reason to take it out, I guess. I guess theoretically, if you put in, like this is, this is a standard layout here. This is a standard motherboard, right? Standard M.A.T.X motherboard. You could put in a beefier cooler here, in which case, if you put in a beefier cooler here, you could put in a tower cooler. Maybe the tower cooler comes further over here, right? Some of them lean towards the back, some of them are centralized, some of them will lean forward, and the fan would be over here. And then you might be running this tower cooler, and it would be hitting this, in which case, if you don't use the DVD player, you could take out the disk drive here, the optical drive, take that out, and then you can put an actually really big tower cooler, if you care. Like that. Very good. And you can see in there we have our RAM. So Kingston Fury, this is good RAM, very, very good RAM. DDR4, in this case, is DDR4 motherboard, but of course, even 14th gen supports DDR4. Standard motherboard connector. For power, standard CPU connector. So this is a standard power supply, this is a standard motherboard. So let's say you're using this and down the road, I don't know, in 3 years or something, or 2 years, you're like, you know what, I need to upgrade something. You want to upgrade to a bigger power supply so you can put in a bigger GPU, it's standard. Or you want to take out this motherboard, take out that CPU, take that and put in a different system or sell it or something, plop in a standard motherboard. This 650 watt power supply is more than enough to support a much more powerful system. You could put in, I don't know, put in a motherboard with a 9800X3D and then repurpose the 5070 you already have, right? If you want to turn into some gaming beast or something. So it looks good. Honestly, it looks good. We'll test out the thermals in that, of course, as we go, the airflow, all that kind of stuff. But let's see how this thing performs, how it looks, how it sounds, and we'll get it rolling along. Okay, let's just have a look at the BIOS here. It looks like a fairly interesting BIOS. It's a nice thing here. You can see the generic stuff here. You can flash the updates. We'll do that later to make sure everything's running well. One thing that we are going to have to do is we're going to have to come in here and enable resizable bar. Intel GPUs, it's very important to enable resizable bar for them to get max performance, so you have to do that if you're using Intel. If you're using NVIDIA, I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes for AMD. It's never a bad idea to enable it, but with Intel you must enable it, so that's good. It supports resizable bar, so we have no problems here. So you go like that, right? You have all your integrated peripherals and that kind of stuff, graphics. You can disable the internal graphics. Yeah, just some basic stuff, but resizable bar is important. Flash the update later. Okay, so just set up Windows basically. We'll do the GPU after. That's going to be a later thing. What I do want to test here though is the noise, thermals without it, because some people may be getting the system without the GPU. The GPU will be a hotter component inside, so it will affect noise and thermals. So we'll try it without, but you can see it's a cute little thing. Once we get it all set up, look even cuter, honestly. But yeah, let's see what we got here. And we'll check the noise, we'll check the thermal. So let's just go idle. I mean, I've been setting up Windows in that, but it's not doing anything beyond that. Let's see how noisy we are. It's very quiet. My noise floor is about 34. Well, I guess that is my noise floor, 33 point, whatever. I can't hear it. I can hear that there's something on. Like if I were to sit here and be like, is there an electronic on in my room, my office here, I'd be like, yes, I can hear something running. So idle temp, extremely low, right? 31, 29, 30. There's nothing really going on here. The watts on the CPU are nothing, right? 13400F doesn't idle. Like that's mobile chip level. I mean, honestly, unless you're really doing something, it's not going to be doing much. That's kind of partially how these things are designed. 13400F, not a multi-core monster. You could put in a 13700 or 14700. Yes, it would be much faster for multi-core, obviously. Even a 14600 would be. But it's not going to be terrible. I mean, it's still a very modern processor. The 13400F is actually very good for gaming, to be honest. It offers a lot of gaming performance. Obviously, depending on which GPU you're using, but for a system like this, you know, you can put it up to like a 5070, realistically, and this CPU will have no problems driving that. $3738. I mean, it's a little Intel stock cooler thing. It's not that loud. Performance is just fine. 14,448 on Cinebench, which there's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, it's the same as you're going to get on like a mid-range mobile processor, right? From 2025, 2026, it'll be just fine. You could do video editing on this. You can do heavy work on it. You know, you may not want to do the heaviest workloads ever, multi-core, multi-threading kind of stuff. And, you know, that'll slam it, but this thing's going to feel super snappy, to be honest. You have no problems with that. Temperatures are nothing, right? 63 degrees, 67, 68. Apparently, this thing, the TG Max is 100, so we're way under that. Not even close to throttling. Wattage is there. Like we did our brief boost, CPU boost, 110 watts, and we're we're running now at 65 watts, which is what this chip is rated for. Okay. These wires out of here. Slap this bad boy in there. Can't see what I'm doing. Take this out. Again, if I put in that 50-50, 50-60, 40-60, whatever, it wouldn't have to do this because they take a single PCI connector. The 5070 and this here, I think the 5060 Ti, I can't remember off the top of my head if that takes a dual 9060, it all depends, right? Different ones. So here we do like that, plug these in. That's good. And just wire these back up, close it up, and we're good to go. One thing you can do, just kind of zoom in there, if you're putting in a DGPU, dedicated graphics, you may want to add a fan to the front here, right? It's not going to be the most robust cooling, but you do have room for a couple different fan sizes there. You can see those holes there. So you could add in a smaller fan there, pull a little bit of air through the front. And there is holes in the front. It'll pull some air in, feed directly into the GPU, and then that'll exhaust out. The CPU has its own thing. It's just going to be pulling directly from the empty side there, but the GPU doesn't really have anywhere to pull from. It'll pull through, like it'll pull through that giant panel on the side, put air in there, but you could theoretically beef this thing up with a little fan in the front there. Okay, and here we are in a game. So we'll just start up, well, maybe we'll test a couple at most. What we're going to do here is test out, we'll do Hogwarts Legacy here, and we'll test a few different settings, just kind of see what we can do here. I mean, this GPU doesn't come with this system, but this is kind of the type of GPU put in here. An A770, a B580, a 5060, 5060 Ti, 9060 XT, like that's the range probably that you would put in the system. Again, it does come with the 5070, that's as an option. The 5070 would be quite a bit faster than any of those GPUs I just mentioned, but mine doesn't fit because I got a 3-fan, and unfortunately this thing is designed for the 2-fan, and the system that I bought has a 3-fan. Whatever, it's life. You can extrapolate. You can take this and add in the percentage that would add to a 5070 over an A770 or something. Anyway, so I mean, this is what you can get out of this, right? This GPU, this CPU that comes with it is a good gaming CPU, especially for, you know, slightly higher resolution. So here we have 1440p ultra wide. It's not normal 1440p, it's a higher resolution. We are going to use some XeSS, and then we have pretty high settings here, right? Ultra for materials and textures and everything else is on high. So it's no, this is not some like low setting or anything like that. And yeah, we'll just quickly go. This is more to test the noise and the thermals and that. So I let this run for, I don't know, 10 minutes or something like that, just to kind of see if there was any thermal changes or noise, but no, it doesn't really make a difference. So again, my noise floor is like 33 or so. Certainly not completely silent, but also not noisy. And it does have that single, you know, that stock OEM fan. Those aren't very good, but they get the job done because, as you can see here, the CPU is only at 72 degrees, right? It's not being completely blasted because I'm not playing, you know, a super CPU-bound game. This is more of a GPU-bound game, but that's fine. I mean, it's totally fine. So, you know, we're pulling 40 watts on the CPU, totally fine. System memory, 20 gigabytes. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff open, so it's nice. This is a 32 gigabyte system. Like I said, CPU at 70-ish degrees around there, no problem. VRAM way up on this thing. That's the nice thing with the A770 and where it will pull ahead of something like a 5060, 4060, even a 5060 Ti is, because it has so much VRAM, you can turn the settings up higher without it crashing. Here, we're never going to be VRAM limited. We'll be able to just crank the settings as high as we want and then get the performance that we want, and the VRAM will just be there when we need it. Temperature up here on the GPU, 67. So no problems there with the GPU in that case. Now I do have that little front fan, which is feeding air directly into the bottom of the GPU. And then as a result, it's just not running hot, right? The GPU is getting the air that it needs from the front, and the CPU is just pulling it in directly from the side and running just fine, honestly. And so we're having no problems with this system here. So if you had this exact system and you got it with, you know, the 5060 or a 5070 in there, it would, I mean, you might get slightly higher FPS on a 5070, but it's not going to run like fundamentally any different than this, right? You might want to throw that little fan in the front there. I would actually get a low profile fan so you don't have to modify anything. It just fits in there. Low profile 120 millimeter fans from like Noctua or Thermalright, they're great. Slap that in there and you're laughing, right? But you can see the performance here, right? Also, these A77, I mean, I was like the guy to start with the A770. When it came out, my channel was monetized on the A770. Before that, I was covering like other stuff, and I literally got monetized on the A770, to be honest, because before that, you know, I was just doing like piddling with different stuff, and I was doing some reviews, and that GPU came out, and everyone was like, they weren't giving it a time of day, and I was like, no. Whatever you think of this GPU, we have to test it. Like, we have to properly test the thing. You can't just be like, oh, it sucks. And people love that kind of content, and my channel exploded. So there you go. It's lovely to come back to the A770 and see that it's actually way better even than it was. It was fine at the time, and it was a good budget offering, but now it's like actually a good GPU, right? Like the BA580 is also really good, 12 gigabyte. This is 16 gigabytes, and it's just singing here, right? Right? It's not a 5080, right? It's not a 9070 XT, but it has power. And now that the drivers are more or less sorted from Intel, like Intel drivers are actually rock solid now, you'll get the performance that you would have kind of expected, right? And XeSS is amazing, as we all know now. It's like way better than AMD FSR, and it trades blows with Intel, with NVIDIA DLSS when it comes to visual quality at when you crank up the setting, when you crank it up even higher. Okay, and here we'll do a little bit of Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk being a very CPU-heavy game, and the Intel drivers and GPUs in general do well, so it's another great game we can test. The GPU is unaffected in terms of temperature, but the CPU is up now, obviously, because the CPU is being hit a lot harder, right? So we're hitting 67 watts, 65 watts, which is that's what the CPU can do. It can go up to that, and it's at 67%, 68 to 70% usage here on the CPU, which means it's running hotter. It's still not throttling, right? We're still getting the performance, but it is running hotter. The nice thing is, I mean, the case, it's not a super airflow case, but it's also not like super thermally constrained. I mean, especially with that fan in the front, that's going to push air into the GPU, which will then go up. The CPU is going to pull directly from that huge gap on the side there, maybe a little bit from here, and just exhaust it out, right? So you could I mean, there's definitely better designed cases in terms of airflow, but for like a business machine, it's actually not that bad. And it's fairly spacious inside, so it's not cramped. There's room for air to move through the case. And we upgrade the cooling on the CPU. This is a, oops, thermal paste on it. This is a standard cooler here. You can see it has standard layout. And this, I just wanted to show, they line up perfectly. Right, so the actual pins line up absolutely perfectly here. Okay, and here we are with that upgrade. As you can see here, it's just the tiniest bit. Like it's honestly like maybe 2 millimeters too tall this way. So if you got a cooler that was 2 millimeters shorter that way, then this is the Hyper Elite 120. Is that what it's called? 212 Pro. Hyper 212 Pro. By Cooler Master. So again, if it was like maybe like 3 millimeters shorter, to be safe, we'll just say like a centimeter shorter that way, it would be fine. It would be totally fine. I have to keep the side off, or I could just, honestly, I could just like half-ass the side, to be honest. Mainly I just want to show like the airflow with it closed, something like that. Like that's just half-assed, right? Semi-closed like that, and then it's just a little too tall over there. But that'll just show what it would be like if you got a very slightly shorter cooler and it was in there. You know, we're pulling front to back, but again, there is perforations in the front here. This is not, it may look opaque, but it's not fully opaque. It's not fully, you know, closed off, but generally speaking, you know, I would probably get it like a shorter stature cooler that's pulling this way. So it actually is like the standard cooler. That's a tiny little thing, but just a little bit beefier and still going to pull air in that way. So you can see here, it's running cool enough. Let's just make sure it's not actually, you know, not updating. There we go. Make sure the CPU is not under heavy load. Okay. Yeah, not much going on. Finally, we can do these tests here. Okay, so it's more or less completely, it's even quieter now. It seems like it's louder, but I don't know, perceptively it's even quieter. Maybe because the fan is bigger and just can't hear it. It's a lower frequency or something. Anyways, that's good. Wattages here, basically the same. So this is way quieter now under load, way quieter. It's running at about the same temperature, maybe. I think it was at like 70-ish or so for that full watts there. But let's see if it drops down or if that boost maintains. But it's way quieter under load, way quieter. Like the fact that the CPU is now under full load, it's significantly quieter. And there it goes, that boost wore out and it's down now. So it's actually running cooler, of course. I mean, it's a significantly better heatsink. I don't expect a score difference. No, there's no difference in scores because it was never throttling in the first place. But it's way quieter. Okay, now here we are back in Cyberpunk. Check the noise level. This is after, you know, the first boot, which is actually the worst for the CPU. Way quieter. It's down, what, more than that, 6, 7 dB? So substantially quieter. It's also running way cooler as well. So we can see there that the CPU is running at sub 70, whereas before it was up into the, sub 60. It's actually right about 60. So right before we were at, what were we at, 80 before? Something like that. So it's running way cooler. Same watts and everything, because again, it wasn't necessarily throttling before, but it's running way, way, way cooler there. I think the GPU is actually running cooler too. I think it is. And that could just be, you know, it's evacuating air a little bit more effectively. But generally speaking, what we're seeing here is the CPU is way cooler, and it's also way quieter. So I mean here, let's split the settings a little bit here. I also just want to show you what normal 1440p looks like. It's going up a fair bit actually, so let's see here, 1440p. Let's stand over here. This is normal 1440p. We'll stand right here. Get a demanding sight. 74. Let's reset that. Yeah, about 74. Go like that there. My air conditioning just turned on, of course. So don't worry about that. Go like that. 74. Yeah, see, it doesn't make a huge difference, even though it's a lower resolution, because we're actually just loading up the CPU, to be honest. So yeah, putting it at a higher resolution is actually in some cases better, because then we're loading up the A770, which is more than up to the task of this resolution at these settings, and the CPU is just doing what it just needs to support the GPU, right? But yeah, this is running really well, right? Really, really, really well. Cool, no issues there whatsoever. Very, very good. So yeah, let's wrap it up. Okay, now here's one other thing you can do, and this is one of the benefits of a system like this. Things like video editing, that kind of stuff. Now this is an i5, it's a 13400. It's not a monster when it comes to things like video editing, but honestly, it's just fine. It's not going to be slow or anything like that. It's just not going to be as fast as the 9950X or something, but it's still going to be faster than the majority of like laptops and things like that. It'll be just fine. And now that I've slapped in that Intel Arc GPU, it's going to be really fast. So we'll come in here, bring that in. And again, you can get this system with an i7, like you can get it with a 13700 or 14700, I guess now, and that'll be faster, right? A 13700, 14700 will be much faster when it comes to things like video editing because it's going to give you more cores. But this is still fast, right? Like, so you slap that in there, we'll hit play. We're already able to scrub through without any issues here. Intel Arc dedicated graphics, it's a very good GPU, very good GPU for things like video editing. Like it's gonna sing, it's gonna absolutely sing, right? So we can come in here, you have Intel Quick Sync. Intel Quick Sync is like, people say, oh, you need NVIDIA. You absolutely do not need NVIDIA. I mean, you can use AMD as well. I find Intel to be really the best in terms of punching up weight, dollar value, core to core rate, like core to core export times. Intel's where it's at, to be honest, actually, legitimately. But that being said, if you got yourself this system and you got it with a 5070 or a 5060 or something like that, these will export way faster than just the CPU. Like, it's not even comparable. Something like a 5060 will massively increase your export performance here. This A770 is going to be super fast because it's going to obviously outperform a little 5060 or something like that. But anyways, I mean, you're video editing, right? So you come in here, you get yourself a cheap system like this, you slap it in, get yourself whatever cheap GPU you want, like a 5060, 5050. The Intel A770 can be super cheap now, or the B580, whichever you want. And these Intel chips are going to rip through here. Like, that's going to be a minute when it's done, basically. Something like that, like maybe a minute. It'd probably be like a minute and a half to export this thing. That's typically what I'd find on an A770, but it's going to be fast, right? This is 4K 60 HEVC, which is slower because it's compressing more. And right, we're ripping out a video here super quick. So yeah, it'll be quick. It'll be about a minute and a half or so when it's done. Okay, so let's wrap it up. What do I think? Well, there's the surprise desktop that you can get, this like little surprise program. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea. In this case, it does kind of work out because, I mean, I'm getting a 650 watt power supply. I'm getting a standard motherboard. Those are valuable right there. I'm getting a good CPU, 13400F. That's very good. Right there, that alone is covering a significant cost of the system. 32 gigabytes of RAM, once you factor that in, this thing, I'm already way ahead, right? So CPU and RAM alone are basically the cost of the system, especially in this market. Then at that point, you're getting a free power supply, free case, free motherboard, free storage. Yeah, so I mean, in this case, it actually is a very good deal. It actually worked out. Because this thing can easily support upgrades such as standard coolers and, most importantly, standard GPU, it actually does become worth it because $400, just pick yourself up a used GPU of whatever tier, as long as it's not a super hot GPU, 4060, 5060, A770, B580, 9060 XT, whatever it is that you get, and you slap this thing in here, all of a sudden you've got a $500 or $600 PC that you couldn't build for this price at all, and you couldn't buy for this price. So it is actually worth it. I don't know about the gacha PC. I don't know, man. Like, if you have a guaranteed minimum threshold, like this one had a guaranteed minimum. It was like guaranteed at least, 13th gen i5, guaranteed at least minimum 1 terabyte storage, minimum, this and that, and then the price. So I mean, and 32 gigabytes of RAM. So it was like, I can't lose here because the products that are included are actually worth it in this market. But normally I wouldn't recommend doing this, especially in a normal market. But I mean, I guess at this point, whatever, it's fine. Besides that, the whole gacha thing, which is kind of a stupid thing to do, but whatever, it worked out for me, so whatever. This product is actually a good product. This MSI Pro desktop here, they're actually good, right? They look clean. It looks big on camera, but it's actually pretty small. Like, this is a pretty small desktop, right? Like, it's pretty small. And, it runs relatively well. The only negative, I guess, would be, it comes with a little Peasley Intel stock cooler, but it'd be no difference if you buy an Intel CPU, like a 13400F. This is what you get. You get this little stock cooler with it. You can get a $20 cooler, beef it up. Maybe not that one, but a different one. And it supports a GPU. So, I mean, it's easy upgradable. You get a CD drive right? I didn't put that on properly, but you get a CD drive, right? The front is still not even clicked in properly, but I mean, you get all this stuff, right? What else are you gonna buy? What else are you gonna buy? So I mean, this is a good system. It all depends what the price is. If you can pick one of these things up, you know, used or new, like this actual little MSI Pro little tower here, it's actually good. I have no problems with it. It's a good little tower. A lot better than some of these OEM systems, right? A lot of these OEM systems use proprietary motherboards, proprietary cooling, proprietary power supplies. It doesn't have any of that nonsense. It's just standard parts.